Go ahead and look at any speaker company's website. They'll tell you about the drivers, that's always there. Cabinet material, sometimes. Crossover, maybe a number, if you go digging. But do any of them tell you why the thing is shaped the way it is? I've been looking, and I think the reason no one explains it is, the honest answer is, it might be a little embarrassing. Here's the thing, the acoustics of cabinet shape are not a mystery. They're not controversial, they're not new. Sharp edges on a cabinet cause diffraction. Round them over and it gets better. Flat, parallel walls inside a box give you standing waves. Curve them and you don't have that problem in the same way. A guy named Harry Olson was working this out in the 1950s. It's in every textbook. I'm not going to try to teach you the physics of it because it's not mine to teach. And none of this is a secret. Every engineer at every speaker company knows it. Then why is the speaker sitting in your living room right now still a sharp cornered box? Because a table saw decided it. Not an engineer, not the math, a table saw. Sheet goods come flat. You cut flat panels, you glue them at 90 degrees, and you've got a box. That's the cheapest shape that exists, and it's the only shape that comes naturally out of that process. Every curve you add after that, well, that's just another operation, another fixture, another bit, more sanding, more finish work on every single unit forever. So the industry knows the right answer and builds the cheap one anyway. I've spent 40 years in product engineering and manufacturing, and I'm telling you, the shape of a speaker you own was not chosen by Acoustics, it was chosen by the process that built it. Now, I'm not going to tell you which shape sounds best. I don't have the data for that, and anyone who tells you that they do without measuring is just guessing. But what I can tell you is why the process picks the shape and what happens when you change the process. So there's a gap. On one side, you've got what the math wants. Rounded edges, curved surfaces, no flat parallel walls talking to each other inside the box. On the other side, you've got what a shop can actually produce at a price someone will pay. And that gap, well, that's where most of this industry lives. And that's the part nobody talks about. Everybody argues about acoustics, drivers, crossovers, cabinet material. That's all a lot of people debate. But the reason your speaker looks the way it looks isn't an acoustic problem that hasn't been solved. It's a manufacturing problem that hasn't been solved. And those are different things. And they get solved by different people. Some companies have closed that gap. So this is the KEF blade. KEF's own engineering paper tells the story. The original was a concept speaker, carbon fiber and balsa wood cabinet. And KEF writes that with that construction, the concept blade would have been too expensive to consider as a production model. So then they went looking for a cabinet material that would let the thing actually exist. Think about what that sentence means. The design was finished, the acoustics were finished, and they still couldn't sell it because they couldn't make it. So what you buy today is a completely different material. KEF calls it a stiff glass reinforced composite. They didn't change the shape, they changed how it's made. Now let's look at the Bowers & Wilkins, the 800 series. If you look at that curve, the front and the sides, it's one piece, no joint. You can't cut that on a table saw. They press it in layers of wood under heat in tooling. And on their own site, they say why they can afford to. Because it requires bespoke tooling and they can make that choice because of what the speaker sells for. But here's the part that ends it. When they brought that curve to the line, the smaller models didn't get it. They stayed a box. And B&W says why? Because of the cost. Same company, same engineers, same speaker line. They knew the curve was better. They just built it into the big ones. The small ones still got a box. And then there's Magico, half-inch carbon fiber shell. They compare it to the skin of an F-35. Then machined aluminum billets to get the curved exterior, a machined aluminum baffle, 10 aluminum tension rods. They didn't just pick one expensive way to build a cabinet, they picked two, and used both on the same speaker. And Magico says why the shape matters. Their words, the curved interior and exterior walls minimize internal standing waves. Not one flat panel cut from a sheet anywhere in it. So if you want a shape the saw won't give you, you're going to need tooling. Everyone we just looked at figured that out. Press it, mold it, machine it, lay it up, all those can work. I chose to cast it. And there's really only one thing about casting you really need to understand. With a saw, complexity costs you on every single unit, forever. Every curve, every radius, that's just another operation on part number 1 and on part number 10,000. With tooling, the complexity is a one-time cost. You pay it once in the mold. After that, a curved wall costs the same as a flat one. A radius costs the same as a sharp edge. So then the question stops being, what can I afford to build? And starts being, what should this thing actually be? Now, casting has some downsides. No one tells you that if they're selling you something. Tooling can be expensive. You write a big check before you have a single part. You get it wrong, you eat it. The parts are heavy. And it's slow. You can't rush a cure. Casting isn't magic. It moves the cost from a per unit to upfront and buys you geometry with the same money. I want to thank this week's sponsor, Pale Blue Batteries. They've got these really cool batteries that have a USB-C charging port right on the battery. No need for a wall charger. Just take a power bank on the go and have power anytime you need it. Pale Blue Batteries, they're awesome. So here's where I've landed on all of this. I didn't figure out the acoustics. That's not what I do. I'm not the guy who invented the math. That work's been done 70 years ago, most of it by guys like Harry Olson. Diffraction, cabinet geometry, the whole thing. It's settled, it's public, anyone can go read it. What I know how to do is build the shapes the math has been asking for. That's it. That's the job. 40 years of tooling and production and figuring out how to actually make a thing. And it turns out that's the piece this industry has been stuck on the whole time. The math was never the problem. The manufacturing was. So that's the thinking. Here's what it looked like when I actually applied it. Every choice I'm about to walk you through came out of that gap I've been talking about. And it's not from me discovering something new about acoustics. It's from me having a process that stopped charging me for geometry. Start with the edges. Look at the radius. The math has been telling us for 70 years that a sharp cabinet edge causes diffraction, and a rounded one helps. That's not my finding. That's in every textbook. So why doesn't every speaker have this? Because in wood, that radius is an extra operation. It's a bit, it's a fixture, it's sanding, it's finish work on every unit forever. In a cast part, it's just what the mold does. I didn't put that radius there because I measured something. I put it there because the process stopped charging me for it. Now this is the part I actually want to show you. This is a cross section. And here's what I want you to notice. The inside follows the outside. And here's the story of why. I didn't curve the interior to chase acoustics. I curved it to keep a uniform wall thickness. That's a rule I've been living with for 40 years. It's just how you design a part that gets molded. So I held a uniform wall, and when you curve the outside and hold a uniform wall, well, the inside comes along for the ride, which means the interior of this cabinet doesn't have parallel side walls. And it just so happens that's the geometry the acoustic textbooks were asking for the whole time. And that's the video right there. I didn't outsmart anyone. I used a process that gives you the right answer for free. And the industry has been using one that charges you for it. Now, what I'm not going to do is tell you what any of this does to the sound. I have opinions. I'm not the guy you should be getting them from. I built the box. What the box does, well, that's a different conversation on a different video. Now, I didn't design the crossover in this speaker. Richie from GR Research did. That's the acoustic engineering, and that's his work, not mine. But here's what's interesting about how this actually went, because it's the same split I've been describing this whole video. What Danny gave me for the cabinet was a volume number. That's it. He told me how much internal volume the woofer needed to see, and that was the requirement. Everything else, the shape, the baffle, the edges, how the thing is actually built, well, that was my problem to solve. And that's the part I want you to sit with for a second. A volume is a number, it's not a shape. You can hit that number with a box, you can hit it with a sphere, you can hit it with pretty much any shape. So the number from the guy who does the math and what to do with that number came from the guy who knows how to build things. I picked the shape. And I picked it knowing what the textbooks have been saying for 70 years about edges and curves, and knowing I had a process that would give me those for free. And that's not me doing acoustics, that's me reading the room and having the right tooling. If you want the acoustic side of this, the crossover, the drivers, why any of it measures the way it measures, well, Danny's got a full breakdown coming on this channel sometime in the future. And that's his lane, and he's better at that than I'll ever be. So the shape, the reason this thing looks like this instead of a box. Of course, that's an acoustic question. It always was. It's just that Acoustics answered it a long time ago. Round the edges, don't leave big flat parallel walls talking to each other. Olson, the textbooks, everyone. That answer's been sitting there for 70 years and it hasn't changed. The reason your speaker didn't get built that way has nothing to do with acoustics. Acoustics knew the answer. Manufacturing is what wouldn't let anyone build it. That's the gap. That's the whole thing. And that gap doesn't get closed by someone who's better at math. It gets closed by someone who can build the shape the math already asked for. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. You can check out my Arca speaker at StoneSonicAudio.com. We'll see you next time.